What is up? And welcome to technically Monday's Hangxiety, but with the NFL regular season over, the fantasy season long over, though not long enough for some folks. We saw some Week 18 championships being discussed. We thought it was time for our new annual tradition of the way too early mock draft. This show is going to be chaos, plain and simple. I'll explain it to you after the intro music. What is up? Good morning and welcome to Mock It Like It's Hot, Monday Hangxiety, our way too early mock draft. No Gator J today, but me and Josh in for the final Monday show of the 2025 season. Josh, how are you, sir? Already some compliments on your lovely new wares.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Hoop. This was actually my Christmas present. Him getting us some, I don't even want to call it official, but we'll go so far as to say some new Club Fantasy merch. Hopefully, crossing fingers. Hopefully, we'll have some stuff coming out this year for the first time. So
there you go.
It'll be fun.
Caesar likes it as well.
Love
Appreciate you, folks. So real quick, last year the show, at least on YouTube, popped off. The interest seems to have drained a little bit at the end of the 2025 season. We were not able to fill a 10-person mock draft. I don't hold it against anybody. I do have one grudge we need to pick, and that is with Sleeper. What the hell is your ADP right now? It is completely made up. It's not in alphabetical order. It's not in any sensical order. And what that means is, and I explained this to Josh yesterday, auto picks are going to make this draft look ridiculous. So we came up with an idea. So I just want to get this out of the way right from the start. This is not going to be our smoothest show. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk with you. Josh is going to do a lot with the chat. I am going to make the picks because I'm in control of the draft based on my own queue of the players that would have been auto-picked, because if we let it auto-pick, it's going to be bad. I'm actually just going to get the draft up on the screen right now. These 12 rounds that you can see on the screen as of this moment, we're not scrolling the screen on today's show. These are the players we're talking about for today. And Josh had a really interesting point. For a way too early mock draft, Josh, the first 50 or so players are probably what matters to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, really even in normal drafts or when people are mock drafting.
And I always say that. I only recap the first 3 rounds.
5, 7, 9 rounds anyway. They want to make sure that they're hitting on their early round picks. So I think that's really going to be a situation where if we focus on these early rounds, because you had a lot of star players that got hurt. How are they going to A, bounce back? B, some of these guys are going to be in new situations, new offenses. We have 4 head coaching openings, I believe, or 5.
4 confirmed openings as of this moment.
Yeah, because I know Raheem Morris with the Falcons got fired Sunday night.
Yep.
Stefanski got fired this morning with the Browns.
And then Tennessee and the Giants
and Tennessee were already open. Okay. So right now there's 4. And there's still some fringe guys that have, been talked about, and maybe something goes over in the next, couple of weeks, whatever it is, as, GMs start getting interviewed and maybe they want the job, but they don't want the coach that's attached. It's the same situation with Jacksonville last year, where they wanted Liam Cohen, but Cohen didn't want to go because Caldwell, I think, or whoever the GM was, Trent Baalke, was there. So they axed Trent Baalke before they brought in Liam Cohen. So there's always going to be these moving pieces. And I think that there's a lot of stuff that we can talk through as this draft goes on.
There you go. I just dropped the link for the live show into the chat. I didn't know if anybody had done that already. Josh, I'm going to go ahead and start this draft, which means I'm going to let you take over. And I figure maybe we just start the show off with some of the news and notes that kind of hit from yesterday. But before we jump in, I will remind everybody, Club Fantasy is a 52 weeks a year show, 51 weeks a year. We find a way to give ourselves 1 week off. Every Wednesday, you will see these 2 faces plus Joe Zolo. What I'm trying to get at is, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are not going to stop talking fantasy just because the regular season is over. We are here for you. And we actually have a second show with Samantha Holt. I almost said Samantha Tate. I'm marrying them now. Samantha Holt and Derek Tate. That's going to be every Tuesday night. So you're going to have plenty coming from Club Fantasy. There's no reason not to subscribe. We have super chat if you want to throw us some money. It's not necessary today, but we'll obviously take your money. But more importantly, if you want to get into future mock drafts early, and we need you, get in. Make sure you guys jump in the Discord. That's where the first link for this goes out. Josh will be dropping that link for you in a second. This is a 1 QB PPR draft, no kickers, no defense. And as I mentioned, we're not even going to go. The people who are drafting with us, if you happen to be watching the show, just try to ride with us to like round 10. Try to make your picks. Try not to let it auto up to round 10. That's going to make life way easier for everybody. But Josh, I will go ahead and start the draft and make my plethora of picks if you want to go ahead and start talking to folks about news and notes.
Yeah. So let me turn off my volume because that's
that will make life interesting for
everybody.
My bad. And it's auto picking. Hold on 1 second.
That didn't go the way that it was.
Paul's draft settings.
Sorry, JWN. Anyway,
no computer auto pick.
All right, so let's start playoff seeds. Right, we had a couple of divisions that went down to the wire. Panthers ended up winning based on the Falcons beating the Saints. They took the NFC South and are going to host a playoff game as the 4 seed. And then, of course, in the win and you're in of the AFC North on Sunday night, Steelers, that was one of the most dramatic games I think I've seen all season. On a missed Tyler Loop field goal, the Steelers end up winning and will host the playoff game as the 4 seed as well. The Broncos handle business against the Chargers. They claim the 1 seed in the AFC. Seahawks, they took down the 49ers, allowing only 3 points on, I believe that was Saturday night. They end up taking the 1 seed as well. As I previously talked about Monday morning, the Browns did fire Kevin Stefanski, though they are hanging on to Andrew Berry, their GM, which I find really interesting. And I'm guessing because of the massive hit rate of his 2025 draft class is a lot of the reason why he's holding his job. But the Falcons cleaned house.
Yep.
Everybody gone. Coach, Raheem Morris, GM, Terry Fontenot. I believe Rich McKay, the CEO, is now out as well. They absolutely cleaned house. And from what a lot of pundits are saying right now, and shit, I'm on the clock.
Yep.
Is that the Falcons' job might actually be one of the most attractive simply because of the offensive pieces that they have, and now they finally have a pass rush.
So, Josh, you go to make your pick. I saw some interesting things about the Falcons. One of the things that's all but confirmed is that Matt Ryan is going to take over as operations for the Falcons. So the new GM and essentially the new head coach will be answering directly to Matt Ryan. And I think that adds even more appeal to that job because you have a football guy kind of running the organization now. You're not directly dealing with Arthur Blank, and he's kind of always been good about keeping a separation between himself and the day-to-day. But I think Matt Ryan probably adds to the appeal of that Atlanta Falcons job.
I mean, it could, but did John Elway really bring anything to the Broncos when he was in a similar situation?
But conversely, I'm blanking on his name right now. The safety that took over in San Francisco, I feel like he did bring something to the job. John Lynch, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those that, you definitely need the right people in place. And then, in terms of like, running salary caps, right? Scouting, things of that nature. Hey, we're just going to pop this right on up.
Yeah, Stephen George. So Josh is going to make a pick, cover our faces up real quick. Stephen George with the $50 donation. We appreciate you, buddy. I'm going to read your comment here. It's the first time I'm reading it. Thanks again for another great season. We appreciate you guys. Gator Joe made 3 playoffs out of 5, 2 finals and a championship. Broke even on money, but won his home league, which is most important. Josh, I talk about this all the time. Stephen, I'm going to leave your comment up while we talk here because you deserve it so much more than our faces. I talk about this all the time. I don't necessarily play fantasy football for the money, Josh. I always tell you guys I'm willing to split pots, but certainly in my home league, and Steven hits on this, winning your home league, that's just another level. The bragging rights of these 10 to 13 people that you're closest with, that you're the one who won the league. Shout out to Stephen George. Shout out to my good friend Rob Motz, who has been an OG manager in my home league and won his first championship in 20 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. And congrats, Steven. Like, even winning 1 out of 5, like that's a 20% hit rate. I would take that any day of the week. Like missing on the other one, that's fine. But you know what? It's that home league championship. I said it going into this. I only made 2 championships this year, and I'm in a lot of leagues, but a lot of my redraft leagues are like charity tournaments where winning is like trying to win the lottery, basically.
Yeah.
But I finished 3rd in my auction league, 3rd in the Ballers and Friends Dynasty League, which, all right, cool. That's awesome. But the 2 like OG Club Fantasy Dynasty Leagues, the main one that's going on season 9, I won for the 3rd time, and I beat Joe Zolo. So of course that's a great feeling, right?
That's the best feeling in the world.
And then in our Club Dynasty AF League, like I ended up winning that one. I've had the best team in that one for what feels like 4 years. I've come out with 2 championships. I'm happy about that because that tells me like, hey, you know what? I'm on top of this, club fantasy thing, which most people kind of look at me as that anyway. So I'll take it.
Yeah. You're finally assuming
that's the bragging rights,
Exactly. Josh, I have some picks to make in a row here. If you just want to keep talking about, I guess, the coaching changes, let me quickly explain to folks how this show is going to kind of go. After we get about 3 rounds in, we will take a break and literally talk about those 30 picks that have been made. Again, this show is not going to be our smoothest show. It's not nearly as smooth as some of my other mock draft shows, but we're going to get that figured out. I actually have some ideas based on what happened here today about some maybe changes for the mock draft show, but we can talk about that later. So Josh, if you want to jump in while I make these 6 picks in a row here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned the Falcons kind of cleaning house. So that leaves now 4 openings. The Titans with, Cam Ward heading into his 2nd season. The Giants, Jackson Dart heading into his 2nd season. A lot of key offensive pieces there. Again, a lot of them coming off of injury as well. Then, of course, the Falcons and Cleveland. There are still some teams that are kind of waffling here. They've already come out and announced that Zach Taylor with Cincinnati is staying. Shane Steichen with Indianapolis is staying. No word yet on Arizona and Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
There's still some buzz around maybe Pete Carroll parts ways with the Raiders. Mike McDaniel with Miami. Jets and Aaron Glenn. A lot of these guys are up in the air, but I think the most interesting one here has John Harbaugh in Baltimore run his course.
Yeah. Because
there's been a lot of locker room issues that have kind of started to arise. People are kind of refuting it. Some are saying, you know what, the refutes are bullshit. I mean, after 18 seasons and missing the playoffs on a missed field goal, maybe it's just time for a refresh.
I mean, and we saw it with Andy Reid. There was no good reason for Andy Reid to leave Philadelphia, except it was just time for a refresh.
Yep, 100%. So, and that's the thing is like, it's not that some of these coaches are bad. Yes, sometimes things just goes wrong in a season, right? Like, and what I'm saying is like some of these longer tenured coaches, right? Like when I look at Andy Reid in Philly, Andy Reid brought football back to Philly because they were down bad for a while.
Yeah.
He, one injury riddled season puts him kind of in a situation where, you know what, maybe we need to reevaluate. Has this gone stale? Has this, your coaching style gone stale? Like, sometimes it is okay for a change. They found the candidate they liked, and Chip Kelly, obviously that didn't work out, but we've made it work since then. But it's kind of the similar situation here with John Harbaugh. Like maybe it's just run stale because he keeps playing to not lose instead of actually going out and having some level of a killer instinct and stuff. So, George, This is going to be fun. Sorry, I'm just like reading comments and stuff as I go.
Yeah. Well, no, they bring up an interesting point. Josh making the pick. Let me go ahead and throw George up here. There may be some new listeners, people who have never seen a Club Fantasy show before. I am, first of all, an old man. I turn 44 next week. I still draft the old way of doing things, which is running back heavy. For these teams that I am drafting for, I'm going to try to pivot sometimes, but I'm really just grabbing from my queue to keep the show moving. But George brings up such a good point. And Josh, it kind of brings up the first thing I wanted to talk about. So let me go ahead and recap these first 3 rounds, and then we can talk about some of the things that I want to talk about as the last pick of the 3rd round is being made right now. So just so everybody who may not be watching on screen, these are live on YouTube and you can see the draft board. But I am making the 1, 2, 3, and the 5th pick. We do have people making 4 and then 6 through 10. So it's an interesting draft, but we're here to talk about the players and where we think they should go. So, Josh, I started the thing off with Jahmyr Gibbs. He is my 1-1. We're going to come back to that. Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, James Cook, Puka Nacua, Jamar Chase, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Amon-Ra St. Brown round out round 1. Jumping into round 2, the guy who took Amon-Ra goes running back, Josh Jacobs. We got Malik Neighbors, Trey McBride, CeeDee Lamb, Chase Brown, Drake London, Nico Collins, Travian Henderson, Amarian Hampton, Justin Jefferson, Ashton Genty. Justin Jefferson wraps up round 2. Ashton Genty kicks off round 3. Cam Scatabo, Bucky Irving, Saquon Barkley, Quinshon Judkins, Devontae Adams, Travis Etienne, Rashee Rice, Brock Bowers, and Kieran Williams. Those are your first 30 picks. So what we always use this show to talk about, Josh, is fresh in your mind. These are the first 30 picks. How do you feel, Josh, before we get into any of the questions, how do you feel about this group of 30?
17 running backs.
Yeah.
Good freaking Lord.
Yeah.
And you know what's interesting is because we talked about...
You are on the clock, Josh.
Yeah. Ah, damn it. All right. Let me...
So while Josh is making that pick, as he brought up, 17 running backs, 2 tight ends, which means 11 wide receivers. Running backs have seemingly taken over the NFL. And Josh, I was looking at the beginnings of my template for our projections next season, and passing, after going down 400 attempts from 23 to 24, went down another 400 attempts from 24 to 25.
Yeah, I mean, carries are there, but and I'll go to what Joel talked about on Saturday's airing in the fantasy grievances. Maybe the 0 RB method is dying.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to running backs are king right now. Like a lot of these, shell coverages that defenses are deploying is they're taking so much away from the wide receivers that offenses are countering with, well, if you're going to keep playing back and prevent the pass, then we're just going to bull you with the run. That's why we saw not 1, but 2 running backs go in the first round this past year, right? So I think when everything is ebbs and flows, right? Like sometimes the running backs are up, then they're down. When they're down, the wide receivers are up. And it just kind of does like this. And then you'll have, these waves where you have the elite tight ends for 2, 3, 4 years. Maybe you have one that carries the test of time like we did with Travis Kelce. Maybe Trey McBride is that next guy. Maybe Brock Bowers falls into that realm as well. And we see a lot of tight ends that are going in the first round. Like we had Loveland and Warren this past year. Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon is likely to be a first-round pick this year. And there is a pretty, there are some quality tight ends coming out this season as well from the draft. So we might be seeing more offenses get more creative with their usage of the tight end because defenses are focusing so much on we have to stop the big play at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, it's the NFL. So Josh, because I did my projections, and again, we're not going to talk, this is for our January shows, which you'll hear a lot of on Wednesday. I did my projections, Josh, as if they were going to swing back to passing. So I, as always, over projected the hell out of pass catchers, but Josh, it is uncanny. I called carries for the entire NFL within 50. I was only off by 1 rushing touchdown. So I called the running game perfectly. When I tell you I over projected the passing game, I think I over projected by over 1,000 passing attempts. Yeah.
And for somebody that loves running backs, you certainly love projecting pass attempts.
Well, normally I get all hung up on certain coaches and their players, and we all know how that goes for Ryan. But I was well, it was, and it's funny that me and Hoove have been on the opposite side of this. I was just following Kellen Moore around and over projecting all of his teams all the time. So I should be way in on New Orleans, and who knows, after the way this season kind of ended, I may be way in on New Orleans next year because I think they're very interesting. Josh, thanks for carrying that part of the show. I'm going to let you make your pick here, but I think the big thing that everyone wants to talk about is who is the number 1 pick? And we had a comment way earlier in the show. Murph, if you're still with us, thanks for the comment. Bijan Gibbs, Puka JSN, Devon Achane is how he would have ranked the top 5, which is pretty close to our top 5, Josh. But my question to you is, I've obviously gotten my say here. I think it's Jahmyr Gibbs. Who is your number 1, Josh?
It's still Bijan Robinson. looking at age, when you look at workload, when you look at competition, the likelihood of a new system coming in that is likely going to want to take that job because they see the potential of what Bijan Robinson can do. I mean, just stop and think about his production and how close he was to Christian McCaffrey, who, by the way, scored over 400 fantasy points this season.
Woo!
If you take like 4 of Tyler Allgeier's touchdowns and give them to Bijan Robinson, we're having a different conversation here.
Yeah.
So I don't think that anything has really put me off of me moving Bijan off of that one spot. Now, I do think Gibbs will have a lot of circulation in that conversation as the offseason goes on, because I would not be shocked one bit if David Montgomery moves on. I think we saw his usage just absolutely plummet this season, and that's going to play into maybe the team's decision on what they ultimately want to do with him. All right, I know I'm on the clock, and I really don't love these picks right now, but I'm going to go with...
Scott, I see your comment. I'm actually going to go to that next. I think it's a very interesting point, and one of the people drafting with us happens to be a Rams fan, so I think we're going to have fun with that, but I want to let Josh talk a little bit more.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at on the number one pick. I mean, look, Tyler Allgeier, I believe, is a free agent as well. He's played his 4th season. Maybe he resigns, maybe he doesn't. They'll likely bring in another back. That's fine. It is what it is. But again, I don't think an offensive coordinator or, a head coach with an offensive background comes into that job saying, all right, I don't want to give Bijan Robinson 300 plus touches.
Yeah.
Like,
Josh, I want to have
at that point, what was the point of drafting him so high? You know what I mean?
Yeah, we've touched a lot on the running backs, and I'm going to go back to one running back, Josh, but I wanted you drafted this guy, so I wanted you to comment on Scott here saying that Puka's success may be tied to Matt Stafford. Are we worried a little bit about that heading into next season?
I mean, you can probably say that about most of the wide receivers in the league, that their production is tied to quarterback play in general, because look what happened with Justin Jefferson this year. How bad was he without quality quarterback play, right? So what I'm ultimately doing when in a way too early mock draft, I'm prognosticating that the situation doesn't change any. Now, once Stafford, if he ultimately decides not to return, maybe he moves back to 4 or 5. But then I want to see who do the Rams bring in to replace him? If they're rolling with Stetson Bennett, then yeah, Puka Nacua is probably going to tumble down my rankings.
Yeah.
But if they bring in another veteran that maybe has a history of, usage within a system that is similar to McVay, I'm perfectly fine keeping Puka within that, top 5, top 7 range.
Now, I do, just to kind of weave over to the guy who I think we really need to talk about, especially in this first round situation, Josh, and that is Christian McCaffrey. He goes 4 overall here, and I just really wanted to ask you, what are your thoughts on this? Is not a young running back, but you mentioned 400 fantasy points this season, literally set the world on fire on fantasy after his most disappointing season ever. Do we need to give this guy a year of rest in between every season? Is that how we're going to get good Christian McCaffrey?
Well, I mean, look, he's going to be 30 next year. So I think that's going to be your biggest cause for pause. But I think anytime somebody touches the football as much as he did, it's worrisome, right? I mean, I said the same thing going into this offseason. That's why I was hardcore fading Derrick Henry. That's why I was fading Saquon Barkley. I was like, the amount of carries, touches, the big spikes that they had, they were going to come back down to earth. Derrick Henry still had over 1,500 rushing yards, which was pretty damn impressive. Saquon Barkley did not. Part of that, I'm sure, is the crappiness that is Kevin Patullo as the offensive coordinator in Philly. But the one thing that I think you can count on with CMC, and it's why I'm not too hesitant to take him out of my top 5 at the running back position, is simply because of his usage in the passing game. And that is what Saquon did not have going from 2024 to 2025. We know what Saquon is capable of in the passing game, but that's just not Philly's offense, right? And that was the biggest problem in why I did not think that Saquon could, any reasonable explanation, replicate some level of fantasy success.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't going to be involved in the passing game. Christian McCaffrey, however, even if they scale back his rush attempts,
super involved in the
he's going to be involved in that passing game. So then it just boils down to, will he stay healthy? So yes, I think there will be some level of regression. Maybe he doesn't see another 100 targets simply because maybe they actually get healthy wide receivers for once. But honestly, I don't know. Ricky Pearsall couldn't stay healthy in college.
Yeah.
Hadn't stayed healthy in 2 seasons in the NFL. We don't know what the situation is going to be with Jawan Jennings. We fully expect them to move off of Brandon Ayuk after, voiding a whole bunch of guarantees in his contract because of, injuries and all this other stuff. So, like, I think there's enough room for me to say CMC is probably still going to see 80 to 85 targets in a healthy season. That's going to keep his value insulated.
I just want to quickly throw a couple of comments up. Scott said RB8. I put him at RB5 and thought that was bold on my part, Scott. So RB8 for you is wild. Josh, we got a question from Big Bando or Bondo. It's hard for me to read right now. I want to quickly let everybody know what we're doing here. So this is our way too early mock draft. And as you can see, the draft did not fill up. I am making the picks from my queue. I threw together just a quick top 70 of my 2026 picks. I'm making the picks from my queue for the teams that aren't there. Everyone else is making their queue. The slots that are on the screen right now, those are the ones that are the most important. We're not even going to scroll the draft. I have this set up as a 14-round draft, or maybe even 13. We're not going past round 12. But again, when my queue runs out, everything gets real interesting. The sleeper ADP is a mess right now. It thinks Hendon Hooker should be the first pick of the draft. I don't understand anything that's happening, but that's neither here or there. What this is really about is getting your first 30 to 50 picks right, and we're going to transition to the middle of the draft here in a moment. But Josh, Big Bando actually had a dynasty question, which I think is a great question based on what we're doing right now, and that is, are we moving Puka Nacua? We just kind of talked about the quarterback issues for Malik Neighbors and a first. Josh, with what I saw from Malik Neighbors as a rookie, I'm making this trade immediately.
Yeah, I think anytime you can take when you're looking at two, I would very much call these guys 2 top 8 wide receivers. If I can stay within that realm and quote tier down and pick up an extra first, I'm going to do that 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm more than willing to make this trade.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent trade when it comes to dynasty value, just based on what you're getting from the entire thing. Josh, I wanted to kind of wrap up these early picks with a talk about a guy who fell to the second round. And I do know I'm on the clock. I'll make that pick in a second. It won't auto pick. Trey McBride falls to the second round in this draft, Josh. But even if this was a 12-team draft, McBride would have fallen to the second round. Josh, he was my 9th overall ranked player, but obviously I didn't have any of the late picks. So he falls to 13 to Chris. Brock Bowers goes a full round later, almost technically 2 full rounds later based on the flip there. How do you feel about these tight ends? Has Trey McBride earned that Travis Kelce level of he belongs that early?
So this is kind of where I'm at with tight ends. Every single time we try to prop up the positional value that a tight end should go in the first round, they ultimately don't provide that positional advantage, and you're wasting the pick, or it feels like a wasted pick, right? Yeah. Like, you're still getting the tight end 1. I think even a fully healthy season of Brock Bowers, I think Trey McBride has kind of proven that he is that guy. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If you are a tight end early guy or girl, whatever, fine. Take your tight end early. I would not do it in round 1. I want a running back. I want a wide receiver. I want one of those skill players that I ultimately have to start multiple of. I don't want the quarterback or the tight end where I'm only starting one of them to take up one of those key spots in my lineup from a draft capital perspective, because to me, that's not value there. So, you can end up waiting on tight end, right? Tyler Warren just went in the 9th round.
Yep, and that's based off my queue. Who knows when he may have went.
I'm a massive Tucker Kraft fan. Tucker Kraft goes in the 6th round. I think that's a great value.
Yeah, I'm going to throw Scott up. Scott asked about Tyler Warren a while ago and said, could he be the tight end 2 over Bowers next season?
Yeah, if they fix their quarterback position.
Yeah.
I mean, Harold Fannin absolutely popped this season, right? Colson Loveland had over 600 receiving yards this season. 700, actually, if I'm not mistaken. It's like he had 90 this past game. So, there's going to be value at the tight end position. Yes, I understand what Trey McBride does is head and shoulders above everybody else. I think he finished a full 3 points per game higher than the rest. But I think when you look at the landscape and you see so many guys that are kind of bunched in here that are all really, really close together, pairing one of them with that elite wide receiver or elite running back kind of takes the cake for me versus taking the McBride at the positional advantage and then, your next guy at, wide receiver or running back.
No, I think that's an excellent point. Josh, for my queue, I'm going to be perfectly honest. There were like 5 tight ends total in my queue, and they were so way down. And the same thing for quarterbacks. I had Josh Allen and Drake May far ahead. We're going to talk about that in the next segment. Josh, I wanted to end this segment with something we do traditionally on this show. You already got to see the answers because we did a show sheet this week. Austin is normally surprised by my game of keep, trade, cut. And Josh, this was the most cut and dry keep, trade, cut for me that I've ever come up with, I feel like. Though you did throw out that there's one more player that could have been included in this argument. What's hilarious is I probably played this exact game of keep, trade, cut 3 times last year because it's the 3 rookie running backs, Josh. And you pointed, actually, I'm going to let you tell your point of how closely everybody was. But I wanted to think going into next season, how are we looking at Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, and Travian Henderson? What are your thoughts on these 3 guys? Take as much time as you want here, but break it down into keep, trade, cut, Ashton Genty, Omarion Hampton, and Travian Henderson.
Oh, God. All right. I'm going to keep Genty because I don't think there's really any trade value for him at all.
It's interesting.
I'm going to trade Henderson because I think everybody's in love with him.
Josh, you're reading my mind here.
Yeah, like everybody's in love with him. So to me, he has the most value. And begrudgingly, I'll cut Hampton. Look, I like all 3 of these guys. I was very hesitant on Hampton. Was very down on Hampton heading into this season simply because I wasn't looking at that Chargers offense and Greg Roman's history of throwing to the running back position.
Yeah.
But, we kind of saw they're not afraid to throw the football, which was great. Like they started off great throwing it. Then, of course, you lose Joe Alt. You have to make adjustments and all these different types of things. Keenan Allen coming back just kind of clouded that room even more. Now there's talk that maybe he doesn't retire and he does come back for another year.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right. Which is just going to further nuke Ladd McConkey's value. But now you've got Odunze Gadsden making waves. Omarion Hampton, in games that he's played, 0 issue catching the football. I mean, he averaged, I think it was like 4 targets a game, which, for a running back is solid. But again, if they have a healthy Rashawn Slater, if they have a healthy Joe Alt, you bring all 3 of the wide receivers back. You've got Odunze Gadsden, and studies have literally shown that the targets will kind of flow between the tight end and the running back position. So 1 week it might be Gadsden, 1 week it might be Hampton, right? I think that makes his usage overall in the passing game a little iffy, in my opinion. And they're going to continue to run these two-back offenses. So whether they bring back a healthy Najee Harris, whether they roll with Kamani Vidal, whether they draft another running back, bring somebody else in via free agency, Hampton's not going to be a 250, 275 carry back. Ashton Genty will be. That's literally what you draft a guy at 6 overall for. So I think that whoever comes in and runs the Raiders, they're looking at the offense saying, I have Genty, I have Bowers, and those are the 2 guys that I'm going to run this offense through. So I think that just from a value perspective in the keep trade cut realm, to me, there's more value keeping Genty than there is keeping Hampton.
Yeah, and you kind of went where I always go, and that is I always start with who is the hottest trade commodity. Whenever I play keep trade cut, if you played in Dynasty with me, you know I love to trade. The first thing I'm looking for is who can I get the most trade value, and that is without a doubt Travian Henderson. I think there's an argument to be made either way for Ashton Genty or Amari Hampton, and I'm not going to argue with you. My priors are Ashton Genty. Ashton Genty did shit in college. I've not seen anybody else, Amari Hampton included, do. Obviously, it didn't translate wonderfully, but as you pointed out, that Raiders team is a mess, and hopefully by the end of the day, they're not going to be a mess. They made a bad offensive coordinator hire. We questioned this to begin with. He wasn't that great the first time. Why are we retreading him after, some seasons in college? And Pete Carroll, this is going to sound like a dickhead thing to say. The NFL has passed Pete Carroll by. So old fucking man. He's got to be in his 80s at this point if he's not.
74.
Yeah, he's just an old man. It's not there for him anymore. The Raiders needed an entire retread. It sounds like they're going to get it. It sounds, Josh.
Yeah, and during the show about 15 minutes ago, the Raiders did fire Pete Carroll.
Hey, there we go. Someone asked if we could get a first rounder for Amari Hampton in Dynasty. I think all three of these guys. But Josh, the last point I wanted to make on this, I know I keep saying the last point, but it is the last point I want to make on this. You brought up RJ Harvey probably deserved to be in this conversation. And I want to bring up, I know we didn't get to see a full year. Does Cam Scatabo belong in this conversation?
I think a lot of these guys belong in the conversation. Scatabo definitely belongs up there. He had, I think, 7 rushing touchdowns this season. Scatabo did.
I'm definitely not in a spot to look up stats right now.
Yeah, I know, right? We all have so much shit going on. But I mean, RJ Harvey had 12 total touchdowns. He had 5 receiving, 7 rushing, right? I think anytime you're getting that level of scoring from a running back, everything else is going to make its way up. Only 3.7 yards per carry, not great. I get that. But the role that we thought that he would have would be the passing game. 58 targets, 47 catches, 356 yards, 5 touchdowns.
You're about to time out, Josh.
Those are the numbers that you want to see from that position. Let me just go here. I'll take a tight end. Hey, so again, numbers that you want to see, and I'm really kind of blanking here on Scatabo. This is bugging the shit out of me. Scatabo had 7 total touchdowns. He had 5 rushing, 2 receiving. He was very involved with the receiving game. But, him coming off of the injury, it's likely going to be a slow grind. We're going to see a lot more Tyrone Tracy, I think, worked in. We know what Tracy's capable of in the passing game. Maybe they move on from Singletary. Maybe they keep him there. But I do think that, no Caesar, no discount on Burden and Laporta. But there's room for those guys to ultimately make it into this holy trinity, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think you can even throw Quinshon Judkins into that situation, in that scenario as well.
He's close.
Yeah. These are 6 rookie running backs that did pretty damn well this season.
Yeah. As someone who loves drafting running backs, you're getting no complaints out of me. I'm feeling really good about what my first 3 rounds are going to sound like next year, Josh, because I just love having these types of players available to me as I wrap up the draft. I actually want to give some fucking kudos to the human beings drafting with us right now, because Josh, we were so worried about where the auto picks. And now I have to make just 2 of the ugliest picks ever based on my current. I'm just going to make the picks. They're terrible. I would not take these guys in real life. I just don't have a lot of choice right now. And that's what I want to talk about, Josh. I set a queue of just over 100 players. Or no, I got up to 120, but regardless, Josh, I am about to literally finish my queue. You guys, we've had 1 auto pick, and Shia was here. I just didn't give him enough time to make his pick. I made that pick for him. Oh man, I have to do something different here. But regardless, we're about to get through this draft, Josh. I am done with 2 players left in my fucking queue.
That's awesome.
Thank you to the club fantasy community. I'm going to specifically, I forgot to name the drafters like I usually do in these drafts. JWN71 picking from the 4 spot. Shia picking from the 6th spot, Josh picking from the 7th spot, Chris from the 8, that's C. Molina, Caesar picking from the 9, and our good friend George Cook picking from the 10. You guys are legends. For us to have just made, we are about to hit 130 picks, no auto picks, and Josh, one player left in my queue. Najee Harris is the only player from my queue that did not.
I can't believe he's in your queue.
Again, I kind of sorted things by how they performed this year and yada, yada, yada. I got to 127 players. So basically, I think that means 5 players in this draft, Josh. Only 5 players in this whole draft were not in my queue. Shout out to this community. Thank you guys so much. Josh, let's talk a little bit about the middle of this draft. In fact, I'm going to do something I don't normally do. I'm going to read out, Josh. Let's go from 4 through 6 and kind of handle it the same way we handled 1 through 3. So I mentioned the person on the end, George Cook, took Amon-Ra St. Brown, Josh Jacobs, Kieran Williams. He comes back in the 4th round with A.J. Brown. Then we see Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall, Derrick Henry, Chris Olave, George Pickens, Tedoroa McMillan, Garrett Wilson, R.J. Harvey. That person took Drake May. That person's me. Jamison Williams, T. Higgins, Rome Odunze, Javonte Williams, Ladd McConkey, Zay Flowers, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, and George Kittle round out round 5. Bringing us to round 6, we finally see a third quarterback go. Joe Burrow, DeAndre Swift, James Conner, Jalen Warren, Tucker Kraft, as you already alluded to earlier in the draft, Cortland Sutton, Woody Marks, Emeka Egbuka, Jalen Waddle, and Michael Pittman. And Josh, the chat kind of jumped in on George Pickens, so why don't we start with George Pickens? We were very on the George Pickens train. We kind of did this 2 years in a row. We told people don't draft Anthony Richardson, take Jaden Daniels. We told people don't draft T. Higgins, take George Pickens. George Pickens might have been the home run of all home runs for us, Josh.
Yeah, right. I mean, he finished as, I believe it was wide receiver 4. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb going down for that extended time definitely helped Pickens' case. The presence of CeeDee Lamb helped Pickens' case. The fact that Dak Prescott led the NFL in passing yards, which we all knew he was very much capable of, helped George Pickens' case. Now it becomes, he's a free agent. Does he remain in Dallas? Or does someone like the Titans, who have a shit ton of cap space, make him one of the top 3 paid wide receivers in the NFL, right? By all accounts, Pickens wants to stay in Dallas. Then it just boils down to, what is Dallas willing to pay? What are they able to pay? Because they would not pay up to keep Micah Parsons. Why would they then pay up to keep George Pickens when they're already paying CeeDee Lamb $35 million a year, right? Yeah. So I think that becomes a big question. Maybe it's they end up using the franchise tag on him this year, get 1 more year, and then they can say, all right, we're going to invest in Pickens because Lamb is coming on the back end of his contract. Maybe we can do some this and that restructuring, yada, yada, yada. The Pickens case for me is interesting for that reason. It's, where is he going to go? And I think there's a lot of people in this draft right now, like Breece Hall is another one, right?
Yeah.
Because where I took him, I'm fully expecting Breece Hall to not be with the Jets next year. Plain and simple. Because if he's a Jet, he's like RB25 for me. I cannot keep getting sucked into this. Breece Hall, all the skill, the talent in the world. He's on a shitty offense that can't do shit. Yeah. The way that Michael Pittman was talking after the game yesterday, there's a chance that he's not a Colt next year.
Yeah.
What does that do to his value? Kenny Gainwell had a phenomenal season this year. He probably goes back into irrelevancy. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
The Seattle tandem of running backs, Kenneth Walker is a free agent. If he leaves, Zach Charbonnet gets a massive jump, right? Ken Walker, depending on where he goes, his value could alter up or down. So, there's a lot of guessing games here when it comes to some of these players. So, the way that I approach these way too early drafts, I simply just want to take the best players, bake in a little bit of precaution in the event that their situations blow up or improve. That's kind of the way that I approach it.
That's great. I want to get Big Bando back on the screen. He had a follow-up to his Puka Nacua question. Are we looking for a 27 first, Josh, or a 26 first?
You acquire a 27 first. You trade a 26 first.
Oh, well, remember, he's just trading Puka for Neighbors in a 1. He's not giving up any picks. So
Well, there you go. So acquire the 27 first.
Yeah. I don't know if this is still the case, Josh, because college football changes all the time, but 27 has been this Jeremiah Smith draft for such a long time. And if there's a chance the team that you're getting
as many dart throws in that 27 first round to get yourself Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting. Josh, I want to jump into the chat real quick. I'm going to remind everybody real quick, if you like what you're hearing, hit that like button. If you want to hear it again, not next week, we will do another way too early mock draft just after the Super Bowl. That's kind of how we've done it.
And we pray to God Sleeper has their shit fixed by then.
Yeah, they usually do. But we will do another one of these. But every Wednesday we go live at 9:00, and every Tuesday we go live at 10:00. It's not Josh and I on Tuesdays. It's Samantha Holden and Derek Tate. But you'll still have 2 shows coming. So hit that subscribe button. If you happen to be listening to Apple or Spotify, hit that follow button. And if you want to talk fantasy football when this show is over, jump into the Discord. Josh just dropped that link for you. It's also in the description of this video. And Josh, I forget. Oh, I want to talk quarterbacks, Josh. So for anyone watching, I did scroll the screen. So round 1 and round 2 are gone now because we're not going to go back and talk about those. Josh, in these first 6 rounds, only 3 quarterbacks off the board. My question to you is, we are obviously proponents of late drafting quarterbacks. Do these 3 quarterbacks belong in this round? Do they belong in this order? Did we overlook Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, things like that? They went Josh Allen in the 4th, Drake May in the 5th, Joe Burrow in the 6th, and they were actually basically the first pick of every round. Josh Allen went 4-2, Drake May went 5-1, Joe Burrow went 6-1.
Yeah, I mean, when you're looking at quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league, it's okay to wait. I mean, just looking at the top 5 in fantasy points per game, Drake May was not a top 12 drafted quarterback. Matthew Stafford wasn't even a top 20 drafted quarterback. Trevor Lawrence was maybe a top 20 drafted quarterback. And right behind him was Brock Purdy, who I think maybe might have been right around that 12 to 15 range at quarterback. So it's okay to wait at quarterback. Like, injuries happen. We know that, right? Like, Lamar got hurt. He was banged up a lot of the season. Obviously, Jaden Daniels got hurt. They were the QB 16 and 17 in points per game. Joe Burrow also got hurt. Only played 8 games this season. He was the QB 15 in fantasy points per game. Daniel Jones scored more fantasy points per game than all 3 of those guys in 2025. If that is not a screaming at you, it's okay to wait at quarterback, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's such a good point. Shout out to Scott. I don't know if you're a new listener. I don't recall the name off the top of my
Scott's
head.
Been here for a minute.
Okay, perfect. Again, my brain is fried. But shout out to carrying the show with questions. This is a great one, Josh, because you always have to ask about this. Career year from Drake May. Are we worried about regression? And I'll jump in here, Josh. I'm not. I love everything I've seen from this kid, and I think his weapons likely get better next year. I'm expecting better Drake May next year, so I'm setting myself up for disappointment.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the big narrative around Drake May, especially in the conversation of the MVP talk, right? You know, between him and Matt Stafford, it's, well, Stafford had a stronger strength of schedule, and he threw for 47 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, blah, 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 this and that. Drake May had arguably the easiest schedule in the NFL.
Yeah.
And that's why he was able to do what he did. Well, now the Patriots finished first in their division. They're going to get a first place schedule in 2026. So
it's a great point.
I'm okay thinking that there's some level of regression with Drake May, especially when I look at, well, Jackson Dart's going into this year with a 4th place schedule. Yeah. Jaden Daniels going into the season with a 3rd place schedule. If those guys stay healthy, I would probably be more willing to take them at a discount versus paying up for Drake May. And ultimately, when it comes down to the quarterback position, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at value. And I'm not looking at, I want the best guy, because otherwise you're paying that 3rd, 4th, 5th round pick for Josh Allen. I am not doing that, plain and simple. I'm taking the best value. That's why in my Dynasty leagues, I have Brock Purdy, because I flipped Kyler Murray for Brock Purdy in a 1. I will take the value in the extra draft pick, right? I have that Trevor Lawrence because my productive struggles led me to Trevor Lawrence, and it only took 5 fucking years for him to pop, right?
Human pits.
Exactly. I took Jackson Dart because people were shying away from him because he wasn't going to start right away. So I have a lot of Jackson Dart on, I had him on a lot of teams as, dart throws in the 13th, 14th, 15th round. Those are the types of players that help you win in given weeks, which keep your season going.
Josh, I want to quickly just get the chat some love. We've had a bunch of questions started at from the beginning of the show, but it's been a weird show, so I want to make sure we're showing love all around. George said to make sure he had this draft, he had us marked as an appointment for the next hour. So George will be leaving us to go back to work in the next 9 minutes. Zach rode with us all season, won the work league, another great league to win because you're with those
bragging rights, baby.
Hoove, of course, comes in with the rookie pick. Is Jeremiyah Love not in the queue? And you already pointed out to him, no rookies in the queue right now. But Josh, I think it's a great question because we talked about this a ton with Ashton Genty last year. Mm-hmm. So I will be scrolling the draft back up here. So I have now showing the first 12 rounds of the draft, Josh. Where does Jeremiyah Love fit in your mind, regardless of landing spot?
I'm okay putting him in the top 12. I don't think I would go as high as 9. And again, that's just basing it strictly on talent.
At running back or overall? Okay.
At running back. Yeah.
Okay.
At running back. So I think he's probably at least the second round pick.
So that's right around, if you're saying top 12, you're talking around the Genty, Scatabo, Irving area.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, let's play a little would you rather, Josh. I don't watch college football, so I don't know a ton about this kid. I'm going to ignore the first round. I'm going to go with the second and third round running backs, Josh. So let's would you rather with this Jeremiyah Love character. Josh Jacobs.
My heart says Jacobs. My head says Love.
Interesting.
And again, it's age. We've seen Jacobs getting a little banged up this season. Love coming in with fresher legs. To me, like that's one of those situations where I want to know where
the landing spot matters a lot at that point.
Jeremiyah Love that landing spot is going to, like, if he ends up in KC because Kansas City has a top 10 pick, you're going to see a lot of Jeremiyah Love head into in the top 5.
Yep. Chase Brown or Jeremiyah Love, Josh?
Sorry. Chase Brown.
I
especially with Zach Taylor coming back, that offense will stay exactly the same. It's Chase Brown.
Travion Henderson or Jeremiyah Love?
I think Henderson workload improves. Right now, I'm going to say Henderson.
Hampton or Love?
I'm okay going Love over Hampton.
Okay. Genty or Love?
There's a lot of people that actually think Jeremiyah Love is a better prospect.
Is better than Genty. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to take the workload with Genty.
All right. I think if you're going to go, Scatabo or Love, I think this is where
that's Love for me, especially with Scat coming back from a pretty serious.
And then I'm not going to ask the rest. It's Bucky Irving, Saquon Barkley. Those guys kind of all fall in behind there. So Jeremiyah Love, you fit in almost exactly where you thought he would. The only weird part, Josh, being that Josh Jacobs, who was the 7th running back off our board, we think that may have just
been. I think that was too high. Personally,
I was just going to say maybe that was a little bit too high from George. Is exactly where I was going to go with that, Josh. We're not going to do a ton more draft talk. I do want to get out here in an hour. I'm going to let Josh talk about his draft. I'll talk a little bit about my actual draft. But Josh, the last two people I want to ask you about, and if I remember correctly, they went relatively close to one another in this draft. I know I took one of them. Okay. Rome Odunze at the 5'4" to JWN, a Lions fan taking Rome Odunze, and Emeka Egbuka at the 6'8". Josh, we have been comparing these two human beings this entire season. They kind of blew up at the same time. They kind of fell off at the same time. How are you approaching these two young wide receivers, Rome Odunze and Emeka Egbuka, as we go into next season?
Well, I'll tell you what, with Egbuka going, where did he go? The 6th round, you said?
Yeah, Emeka Egbuka went at 6'8", and that is one of my Q picks, so I don't know where he would have actually went.
So I feel much better with my Chris Godwin at 9'7" as a result of that.
Josh, Chris Godwin was one of the guys I had to throw onto my thing. I didn't even think to put him in there, so I thought that's a great pick.
So I feel great about that one. Egbuka worries me a lot more than Rome Odunze. I think with Rome Odunze, I think sometimes you see with new offenses, some guys take to it like that. Some guys come right in and they're like, "Oh, I am built for this. This fits my skill set. It does anything and everything for me, and I'm in." For other guys, and I think again we've seen this over 2 seasons. there's still some connectivity issues with Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams. And I think that lends itself to a lot of the lower catch percentages from Rome Odunze. We saw Luther Burden sort of making some headway in that offense. And we said it during the draft and shortly after when Luther Burden got drafted by the Bears. Luther Burden is going to be Ben Johnson's version on the Bears of Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And
I think Rome Odunze will take that Jameson Williams role. So I think that ultimately is going to lend itself to very boom bust potential for Rome Odunze, but it still, in my mind, makes him a top 24 wide receiver, much like we've seen with Jameson Williams.
Yeah.
With Emeka Egbuka, there's just way too much competition. I mean, they're getting third-round pick Jalen McMillan more work over first-round pick Emeka Egbuka.
I did love that your first thought when you saw Egbuka was that you love Godwin. George's first thought was you love Mike Evans. I'm like, my ranking of Emeka Egbuka makes everybody feel better about their picks. Like, what the hell, man?
Well, and that's why I think that, we talk a lot about like dropping players to be landmines for your opponents. Emeka Egbuka might be that heading into the 2026 draft, depending on how the rest of the wide receivers, like what happens with Mike Evans, what happens with Chris Godwin. Like, yes, Evans is a free agent. They did re-sign Chris Godwin, but maybe they're looking to cut cap because they've got to rebuild that defense. And they realize, look, we've got two young guys that we like, that we trust. They can be our future. We don't need these veterans anymore.
Yeah. No, I love it. All right, Josh, let's do what we always do on a mock draft show. Obviously, this was a little bit of chaos, so don't spend too much time here if you don't want to. But go ahead and break down your draft a little bit, Josh. Obviously, there couldn't have been a ton of strategy in this. I feel like you maybe got the greatest value of your final two picks ever. But talk to us a little bit. Obviously, you've already kind of talked about Puka Nacua, but break down who you want to break down in this. Sorry.
Yeah, I'll briefly touch on CeeDee Lamb. He's still CeeDee Lamb. Like, he got hurt a little bit. I'm not worried about George Pickens like siphoning volume or anything. CeeDee Lamb is still that dude, and this is a high-powered passing offense. The running backs, ETN being a free agent, I do think that he ends up back in Jacksonville. Him and Trevor Lawrence work so well together, and quite frankly, he looks like the truth in that Liam Cohen offense. Breece Hall, again, like, I'm fine taking the value here in the 4th round. I want to know where he goes. If he ends up with the Jets, I'm probably not taking him until like the 7th round if I take him at all. Wow. Zay Flowers quietly put up a top 12 season this season.
Yes. He was one of my
and had 2 50-plus yard touchdowns in week 18, which obviously don't count modes for fantasy purposes, but maybe he's finally turning the corner and becoming that wide receiver 1 for Lamar, like really gaining that trust, where that trust has typically always been to Mark Andrews. And then for me, it just boiled down to, taking the kind of value that I could find. Jaylen Warren's still going to have a role regardless of whether, Caleb Johnson ends up finally actually looking like the Caleb Johnson that we thought he would. Christian Watson as my wide receiver 4 is a freaking home run. I'll take a dart throw on Trey Benson. I know through conversations with Hoove, and I'll bring this up, he did a mock draft where he actually had Arizona trading back with Cleveland and Arizona actually taking Love. And I was like, okay, I mean, I get it. James Conner's old, coming off an injury. They did just re-sign him. But are they willing to give up on Trey Benson after only 2 seasons?
Yeah.
I'm going to bet no. And I think the 8th round is a good spot for that. Because, again, we know the struggles with James Conner and at least his injury history. Maybe that continues. Maybe they work more of a split. I don't know. And then, for me, it's just value from there. Luther Burden in the 11th, I think, is a steal. I think he's likely going to be a top 20 wide receiver this season, especially if the caveat, if they move DJ Moore. And it is very easy for them to do that given the way his contract. And I will say, I've said it before and I'll say it again here. I think that DJ Moore in Tennessee would be a perfect fit.
Yeah. And that goes back to Scott's earlier comment that he thinks insane value might be Laporta when you've wrapped this draft up with Trevor Lawrence and Sam Laporta.
Yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is a top 5 quarterback. Like, this is why you wait on quarterback, plain and simple. So, look, I don't think Trevor. I said it last year with Baker Mayfield and Liam Cohen. Baker's going to regress this year without Liam Cohen. He did. Trevor Lawrence still has Liam Cohen. I don't know that we're going to get another 35 plus touchdowns. Yeah. But we're still going to have a good season. 9 rushing touchdowns is coming down, way down, people.
Yeah.
Let's just remember that one.
Yep. I'll quickly talk about my draft. This is a very Ryan draft. Even just picking from my queue, I tried to take this team as my team. And so Jahmyr Gibbs, I've already talked about as my 1. Justin Jefferson at 10 was a tough pick to make. I am never against going running back. So I could have went Genty and Scattaboo here, and it was in my queue to go that way. But I wanted to diversify a little bit. I can't imagine Minnesota goes into next season allowing Justin Jefferson to fail. I think at 210, he could be the greatest value in fantasy football. He is still as talented as Jamar Chase and Malik Neighbors. They just got to figure this quarterback situation out. And then I get Ashton Genty, RJ Harvey. That's just me all day. What's not me all day is taking a quarterback in the 5th round. But Josh, I've talked about this before. When I do industry drafts, and again, shout out to this group for making this feel like an industry draft. Everybody plays fuck around when it comes to the quarterbacks. And there were 2 guys in this draft. 5th round is always my cutoff point. I don't screw around with elite quarterbacks after the 5th round. It was Josh Allen. It's Drake May. I'm not buying into a fall off. I think he's fine. Obviously, at this point, I need wide receiver help. I just got to smash 3 guys that I like. I don't know where they're playing next year. Well, Harrison will be in Arizona, but Michael Pittman, Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, perfect. And Josh, he did enough to end the season that I just can't give up on Bill, Ja'Cory, Krosky, Merritt. He's there for me in the 9th round. Jaden Higgins feels like a great value. He seems to be a very nice complementary piece to Nico Collins in that Houston offense. Arondé Gadsden, because I wanted to walk out of this with a tight end. And then honestly, Josh, my queue was dried up in a real draft.
Can't believe you took Jerry Jeudy when I'm on a show with you. What the fuck is the matter with you?
Josh, Jerry Jeudy and Brandon Ayuk. Now, I will say, I cannot remember who on our last Saturday show made a joke. Oh, it was our good buddy Iowa Mike said that Brandon Ayuk will be the wide receiver 1 in Washington next
year. Could very well be. I believe it.
So again, Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk. I like Shadur Sanders more than most people. I don't know that that matters because Jerry Jeudy doesn't seem to like Shadur Sanders. So he may not be in Cleveland. But honestly, Josh, those were the definition of panic picks because my queue was dried up and I didn't know what else I was going to do. We do have one more question, Josh. It was from Bando, who has been riding.
Before that, hang on.
Oh, please. I'm sorry.
Jonathan Gannon fired by Arizona.
Oh my. Okay.
And I did verify before I put it up.
He wasn't even on my list.
Not that I don't trust you, Caesar. I do, but I always like to verify.
Josh, was he on my list? Oh, he was on my list. Okay. I feel good, a little good about that because I gave you 5 possibles that you mentioned earlier in the show. I didn't remember the list I created. Wow. That's surprising.
So Jonathan Gannon fired. So that obviously that offense is going to completely change. So, which again, I think that could lend itself to a lot of possibilities for Michael Wilson because when you look at what Michael Wilson was able to do over 1,000 yards this season, with Jacoby Brissett filling in for Marvin Harrison Jr., an offensive coordinator, whether again they become the head coach or a new OC that a defensive-minded head coach brings in, you're looking at that offense and you're saying, I've got a 1 in Harrison, I've got a 2 or maybe even a 1B in Michael Wilson.
Yeah,
I have him at tight end in Trey McBride. I've got a couple of pieces. And Scott, please don't start with the Stefanski to the Cardinals.
Josh, all the reports are he's the hottest commodity.
I can't because that offense then won't change.
Yeah.
It is literally the same offense. I need a new offense.
He's like the hottest commodity in football right now, which is the most surprising thing ever.
I mean, look, he's a 2-time coach of the year, so I get it. Like he's the veteran guy that knows, like, if you put him in a more well-run organization, I'm fine with Stefanski. Like, I don't have a problem with Kevin Stefanski. He got dealt a shit hand in Cleveland because the owner wanted Deshaun Watson. And then he had to completely change his offense.
Yep.
He had to do so many things differently that are out of pocket for him. This year, which, again, this is what I said in the offseason, when they drafted Quinshon Judkins, he wanted to get back to playing good defense, running the football.
Yep.
He was able to do that with Quinshon Judkins. Obviously, the defense looked great, but they did not have a wide receiver. Jerry Jeudy sucks. I need people to understand this, okay? But he had Harold Fannin was a home run for them.
Greatest pick ever.
Home run. Absolute home run. So
Harold Fannin defined the Cleveland draft.
Yeah. So, like, you put Stefanski in Cleveland, like it's basically Drew Petzing, but on steroids, because it's the actual offense that it should be running. So, but again, they're not going to use the wide receiver too. So Michael Wilson's irrelevant.
Kills Michael Wilson again. So
and that's Wilson, what I don't want.
Couldn't he possibly be on his way out? Am I wrong about that?
No, he's this was his 3rd season.
Okay.
So he'll be getting into the 4th year of his rookie deal.
Last question from the chat before I get us out of here. Big Bando, and that same trade, would we just give up Puka for 3 1s? And Josh, I am win now. Those 3 1s are not doing enough for me. I am not making this trade. It's fair value. I'm not making this
trade.
I
mean, when you look at it in terms of value, I want to make sure at least one of those firsts is a top 3 first. Plain and simple.
Okay. So that you can replace Puka almost immediately.
Correct. Yeah. Otherwise, I need at least a top, I'd say 20 dynasty wide receiver in return. Now, the only way that I make these kinds of trades, like when I trade a star like that,
I need to know I'm not winning anything.
That's the thing. I need to know, where am I at in terms of my league in max points for? And the reason that I look at that particular setting is because I need to know where I am at in the hierarchy of my league. If I'm in the bottom 3 or bottom 4, then I'm making that trade, because Puka's not helping me. All he's doing is preventing me from getting those early draft picks so that I can do my productive struggle. But if I'm sitting in the top 4, top 5, and maybe I just had an unlucky season, I'm not moving Puka for just draft picks at all. I will move him for neighbors and a 1. I'm going to tier down and get that extra pick because it's clear that I need that extra pick. But I'm not moving Puka straight up for picks in that instance.
Love it. Folks, that wraps up our way too early mock draft. I cannot thank this group enough. I cannot tell you, for the last 24 hours, I thought this show was going to be a disaster. Just putting it plainly, this might have been our best mock draft show that I've done. No offense to Austin. This was amazing. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. This will be our last Monday show for quite a long time. However, Club Fantasy goes on. As I mentioned, we are here for you all season long. January is a big accountability month for us. So you have Sam Holt and Derek Tate are going to be Tuesday nights. They're going to do all sorts of fun stuff. This is our first year rocking with them. It's going to be a great show. You might even get to see them meet in person for the first time at Super Bowl, because women in fantasy. Oh, I'm sorry. The draft, because women in fantasy football does big shit. It's what we do. Every Wednesday, Josh, myself, and Joe Zolo get on here. As I mentioned, January is big about accountability. We're going to talk NFL draft for you. We're going to intro you folks to IDP. We're going to intro you folks to Dynasty. We are going to do a ton for you. Club Fantasy is here to help you get into new forms of fantasy football or get better at your old forms of fantasy football. Thank you all for tuning in. We did this show for you. There will be one more way too early mock draft. The day after the Super Bowl, we get back together. We're going to do another mock draft. We're going to kind of talk about the postseason and how things went. And then we will do a mock draft show. I'm giving myself until April this year. The March drafts are just not that fun for me. So first, I haven't decided what day of the week. I want to talk to Austin about that. Probably Thursday in April. You will then get a weekly mock draft show from me leading all the way up to your home league draft. It's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. For Josh, I'm Ryan. Follow Club Fantasy on all the socials at Club Fantasy FFL. The website is clubfantasyffl.com, and join that Discord. Get intros to the mock drafts. Get to talk about the real NFL draft. Get to hang out with some really good people. We appreciate you folks, and we will see you the next time we see you. Wednesday for sure, though.